Hi folks, and welcome to the second online tutorial in our National 3 Life Skills range. So again, it's managing money and data, only this time we're focusing on Assessment Standards 2.1 to 2.4. So before we begin, let's get a breakdown of what it is we've got to cover. So 2.1, organising primary data. 2.2, carrying out simple calculations to compare data. 2.3, representing data in an appropriate format, and 2.4, interpreting simple data to draw conclusions. So we'll start with organising primary data, and the example we have is Joe asked the pupils in his class what their favourite colour was, and this is what he found out. And from these answers, what we have to do is to draw a frequency table, and this is what you'll be asked to do when it comes to your assessment. So at first glance we can see that we've got three variables, a mixture of red, green and blue. So our frequency table looks like this. It's a table with three columns, one space for the actual colour, space for the tally marks, and then a final column for the frequency. So we'll start with red, as that's the first one we come to in the table. So we've got two red in the top row, so we make two tally mark lines. The second row we've got a further two red, and in the bottom row we've got one. The tally marks are usually done in groups of 5, so you do 1, 2, 3, 4, and for the fifth one you draw a line, a score, through the 4 tally marks. So we've now counted the number of tally marks in the frequency column, so we said that was 5, and that's us completed the frequency table for red. And then we just do the exact same process for green. So in the top row there's 1 green, in the second row there's 2 green, and in the bottom row there's no green. So that gives us a total frequency of 3. And then we just repeat the process for blue. So in the top row there's 1 blue, the second row there's no blue, and in the bottom row there's 3 blue. So we need to put another 3 marks in. That gives us a frequency of 4. And that's you completed your frequency table. So I want you to do exactly the same thing for the following examples. Draw a frequency table for the mobile phones, draw a frequency table for the Ford cars, and draw a frequency table for the European cities. And if you're working on these at home, pause the video now. Okay, so you've unpaused the video, let's go over some answers. So number 1, you should have had 4 for Samsung, 6 for Apple, 2 for Nokia. Number 2, you should have had 4 for Focus, 7 for Fiesta, and 1 for Galaxy. And number 3, you should have had 1 for Paris, 4 for Rome, and 7 for Barcelona, all drawn in frequency tables. Okay, moving on to the next section, where we're going to be carrying out simple calculations to compare data. So from the frequency table in the example, we have to answer how many more pupils favour red than blue. So looking at the table, 5 people prefer red, 4 people prefer blue, and all we have to do is do a simple take away sum, 5 take away 4, so the answer is 1 more pupil prefers red than blue. So for your frequency tables that you've just drawn, I want you to answer the following questions. How many more Apple phones are there than Nokia? How many more Fiestas were sold than Galaxies? And how many travellers favour Rome than Paris? And if you're working on these at home, pause the video now. Okay, so you've unpaused the video, and you should have got 4 more Apple phones, 6 more Fiestas, and 3 more travellers. So that was quite a simple process there. So moving on to our third section, where we're looking at representing data in an appropriate format. So again, we're going to be using the frequency table in the example on the board, but what we have to do is construct a bar graph to display this data. So I'll show you what it would look like, and then we'll talk through what you need to include in your bar graphs for your frequency tables. So this is what a bar graph looks like. Now, to obtain full marks, you need to include the following. You need to have a title, so in this case it's favourite colours. You need to include a scale, so that I've decided to go up in ones there because the numbers are quite small. You've got to have correct headings, so number of pupils and colours. You've got to have labels for your bars, in this case it's the colours, red, green and blue. And then of course you've got to have bars as well. If you have coloured pencils you can do them in different colours, but of course that's not a requirement, you don't have to do that. And that's what a bar graph would look like. So what you're going to do is construct bar graphs for the following sets of data. So this is your previous frequency tables that you've drawn, draw bar graphs for them. And if you're working on these at home, pause the video now. Okay, so you've unpaused the video. Let's go over the solutions now. I'm not going to show you what your bar graph should have looked like, but if you're working on this with a teacher at home or yourself, you would obtain full marks if you have a title, scale, headings, labels and bars, and it looks like the one on the board. Okay, so our last section, we're going to be interpreting simple data to draw conclusions. So we're going to use the bar graph to find out what the most popular colour is. So by quickly glancing at the bar graph we can see that red is the most popular colour, and you'll be asked to do something similar in your assessment, looking at your bar graph and using it to tell you what the most popular answer was. So using your bar graphs that you've drawn, I want you to tell me the most popular make of phone, the model of Ford that was sold the most, and the European city that's favoured the most by the group of travellers. And if you're working on this at home, pause the video now. Okay, so you've unpaused the video. You should have got Apple is the most popular make of phone, the most popular Ford sold is Focus, and the most popular European city is Barcelona. So that concludes our second online tutorial for National 3 Life Skills. This should more than adequately prepare you, in conjunction with the other one, for the Manage Your Money and Data Unit assessment. Hope you found this useful and stay tuned for the next one.